Was he an impulsive and unforgiving tyrant? Or do his achievements outweigh his mistakes? How did Qin Shi unite China more than 2,000 years ago? And what makes him such a controversial character? Keep watching to find out. China is probably the most enduring, coherent state in world history, and this is mostly due to one man. Qin Shi Huang. Before 221 BE, China was a region of diverse states, differing in culture, ethnicity, and language. During the spring and autumn period in 771 to 476 BE, the region was nominally ruled by the Zhou dynasty, but feudal lords held genuine power over around 140 effectively autonomous states. The spring and autumn period led to the Warring Period, 476 to 221 BE, during which power was consolidated into 7 major states: Qi, Chu, Yan, Han, Zhao, Wei, and Qin. These states were in a state of constant conflict over power and territory, but it was all about to change with one young boy in Qin. In 247 BE, 13-year-old Ying Zhang succeeded to the throne of Qin. He inherited a militarized state and a palace dominated by intrigue and duplicity. Many people saw the king's young age as an opportunity for plots. Ying Zhang was living with his mother, Queen Dowager Zhao. Ying thought his mother was the only one he could trust, but even she wasn't fully loyal to her son. She had hired a minister, Lu Buwai, to act as Ying's advisor. He would keep the queen in the loop and give her access to her son's power. Lu Buwai was also appointed as king regent, as Ying hadn't come of age. But there was a reason to Lu and Queen Zhao's plan. They were romantically involved, and Lu was most likely Ying's father. However, Lu was afraid that his relationship would cost him his position if found out, so he introduced the queen to another man, Lao Ai, who would replace him in her bedroom. The plan worked, and Lu Buwai continued to rule the Qin dynasty from the shadows. In 238 BC, Queen Zhao and Lao Ai's relationship was no longer a secret. He had gained a powerful position at the palace, and the two had 2 sons together, although they were kept a secret. But Lao Ai wanted the throne, so he organized a coup. Ying Zhang was now 22 years old and a smart leader. He anticipated the coup and planned the response. He trapped Lao Ai's army at the front gate, and archers attacked them from above. Lao Ai was punished in the worst way: dismemberment by horses. Ying Zhang wouldn't stop there. He beheaded Lao Ai's army and assassinated his sons. He put his mother on house arrest. Finally, he exiled Lu Buwai to Sichuan, where he took his own drinking poisoned wine. This was a milestone for Ying Zhang's rule. He was now in control of his kingdom. Ying began hiring competent men from all over China based on meritocracy rather than nobility. It was unprecedented for a king to appoint generals not only non-noble, but from other dynasties. One of Ying's most loyal men was Li Si, a statesman from the Chu state. Li Si was the legal advisor of Ying, and it was through his wisdom that Ying united all 7 states into the Qin Empire. Ying also appointed Zhang Guo, a hydraulic engineer from the Han state. He built canals which irrigated the Guangzhong Plain, boosting agriculture and solving floods. However, there was a hidden truth to Zhang Guo's work. He had been sent as a Han spy, aimed to divert Ying's attention and resources to projects other than military conquest. Following Li Si's advice, Ying didn't expel Zhang Guo or other foreigners in Qin. He knew he would need their talents and trust if he were to unite all states. Zhang Guo continued to build his canals, which helped Qin's economy skyrocket compared to the other states. Now, Ying was ready to build his empire. He recruited 1 million soldiers and trained them expertly. In 230 BC, he started his epic campaign. The first state he hit was Han. used diplomacy as the main means to solve conflicts, the Han dynasty was not ready for Ying's attack. Han fell quickly, and Zhao followed. 2 years into Ying's campaign, the Yan state had had time to prepare for the Qin army. Yan diplomats arrived in Qin stating that they wanted to negotiate peace. They brought Ying boxes of gifts. In one of the boxes was the head of a Qin general who had betrayed Ying and fled to Yan. The diplomat moved closer to Ying to show him a map of Yan, but hidden within the map was a poisoned dagger. Ying was alone against the diplomat, as armed guards weren't allowed in the throne room without permission. Ying was fast as he grabbed his sword to finish his enemy. This failed assassination only angered Ying into speeding up the campaign. Within a decade, all 7 states were conquered, no one standing a chance against the massive Qin army. In 221 BC, 38-year-old Ying Zheng was crowned Qin Shi Huang, literally translated as the first emperor of Qin. Replacing the old title of king with that of emperor meant a symbolic transition from terrestrial to cosmic.
His achievements outweigh any of his failures.
Qin Shi had a great plan for China, which would last as an empire for 2,000 years. His first mission as emperor was to create a system that would unify the people who were still loyal to the old states. Qin Shi abolished feudalism and created 36 commanderies. The centralization of power was unprecedented. All officials were appointed based on merit. This was a system known as legalism, a philosophy perfected by Li Si. Legalism meant 3 rules: the strict application of laws, accountability, and the manipulation of political purchase. Legalist philosophers viewed people as inherently selfish and short-sighted, unable to emulate the virtue of a leader. This meant that the state needed rigid laws with strict punishments but also consistent rewards. Qin Shi wanted to use people's passions in the interest of the state. Law codes were emphasized under Qin Shi's rule, overshadowing ritual or tradition. When over 1,000 bamboo slips were discovered in 1975, historians confirmed the strict laws during Qin's reign. If an ox is used in farming and loses weight around the waist, for every 1 kun it decreases, the owner is beaten 10 times. Qin Shi standardized units of measurement, coinage, and even the gauge of cart tracks so the axle widths could be the same across the empire. But Qin Shi's biggest challenge was the unification of language and the writing system. Qin Shi sent scholars to each province to teach the Qin script. Many of the characters introduced by Qin to the rest of China have survived to the present day. The Qin Empire saw the emergence of a new scheme of social stratification, with society divided into 4 classes: gentlemen, Xi, peasants, Nong, artisans, Gong, and merchants, Shang. The latter were often legally persecuted. Qin Shi's way of keeping his empire unified was often a cruel one. He burned Confucian books and buried the scholars alive, but historians questioned the truth of this story. The only account of Qin Shi's life was written a century later in the Han dynasty. It was common propaganda to picture a former ruler as an evil one, especially with stories of burning books. It is very likely that this was the Han dynasty's way of taking their revenge on a ruler who had conquered them.
One of the things they would say about a bad ruler or a bad king was that this was a person who had no respect for scholars and buried them or burned documents.
There is a lot of evidence for the emperor's intelligence and fair-mindedness. Qin Shi preserved some forbidden texts in the palace for technological advancement, farming, medicine, and astronomy. He also tolerated zero corruption from his officials, following the interest of the people. During his 12-year reign, he ensured an end to all conflicts. He would dress as a civilian and walk down the streets, observing how people lived, if they were happy and respected the rules. The decrees he would leave in stone wherever he went are proof of his extensive expeditions. Qin Shi's empire also saw the construction of the Great Wall of China, some 5,000 miles long. Qin builders connected fragments built by the previous states, meant to stop military invasions. He also created a national network of roads, still used today. Qin Shi was also searching for a way to live longer. Ironically, his death at 50 years old was a partial result of the mercury he had been ingesting, believing it was a gate to immortality.
Making these expeditions around his empire was to look for the secrets of immortality that would enable the first emperor to extend his lifetime and extend his reign so that he could continue to rule over his empire.
Qin Shi had prepared for his death with an unprecedented mausoleum. Built by 700,000 men, it wasn't just a man-made mountain. The huge tomb was filled with figurines made to assist the emperor in the afterlife. That's right, this is the Terracotta Army. Qin Shi went to great lengths to preserve the secret location of his marvelous tomb. The terracotta soldiers were only discovered in 1974, 2,000 years after the emperor's death outside Xi'an, which was the empire's capital. When Qin Shi died in 210 BC, his youngest son Hu Hai seized the throne and exiled Li Si along with the other foreign officials. This led to Hu Hai being assassinated. 4 years after Qin Shi's death, the Han Dynasty took over a weakened Qin Empire. The Han Dynasty would rule China for over 400 years, shaping its history to such an extent that the main ethnic group in China is the Han. Even though short-lived, the impact on Qin Shi's empire in China is unparalleled. The bureaucratic and administrative structure that he institutionalized were the backbone of all subsequent dynasties in China, thousands of years after his reign. What do you think was Qin Shi Huang's greatest achievement? And does his legacy exceed his strict and unforgiving laws? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe.